My summer has now gotten 10 times better. The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 2 is back! I cannot express how much I love this series. I love the cast, I love the storyline, I love Jenny Han, even though she fumbled the bag with EXO Kitty. Everything about this show is chef's kiss. But with all of her love stories, unfortunately, I just have not read the books. I know there are some book girlies out there, and there's some who have strictly just watched the book adaptation to film. So for today's video, we're gonna be talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty, all things I love, all things I'm not so much liking so far watching the series. But so if you're new here, my name is Brie with an E, and I talk a lot about yours and my favorite TV shows. I give my honest opinions and reviews on them. I've reviewed a few series in the past like EXO Kitty, The Idol, Never Have I Ever, and a bunch of teen kind of young adult TV shows. So if you're interested in any of this content, give this video a big thumbs up, as well as subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time I post. It's a fun time on this channel. We just talk a lot about the shows I watch, the shows you watch, and it's a safe place. If you're kind of like, girl, what is The Summer I Turned Pretty? I have no idea who Jenny Han is. Let me give a quick explanation. Summer I Turned Pretty is a story about a little girlie called Belly. Belly is your typical average teenager who hasn't experienced a lot of life yet. She hasn't had her first kiss, she hasn't had her first love. A lot of her first she hasn't had. And every summer, Belly, her mother, and her brother go to a little town called Cousins in Massachusetts, where they stay at a beach house with their long-term family friends, the Fishers. We have Susanna Fisher, we have Conrad Fisher, and we have Jeremiah Fisher. The Fisher boys, Jeremiah and Conrad, are close friends with Belly's older brother, Steven, and they're also close friends with Belly herself. So every year, going several years back, these two families, the mothers and the children specifically, have lived together and spent the summer in Cousins all summer long. And in summers past, Belly was still kind of the younger sister to them all. She wasn't yet being looked at by boys. She didn't come into herself or have puberty yet. But in this first season, Belly and her family, of course, traveled down to Cousins, and she's experienced some changes. She's not wearing glasses anymore. She doesn't have her braces on anymore. In fact, she looks different. She just looks different this summer. And the Fisher boys have noticed this. Conrad in particular, who Belly has this kind of deep, unspoken connection with and bond with. Since they were younger, Belly has had an extreme crush on Conrad, and unknowing to Belly, Conrad has had an eye on her as well. So when Belly and her family returns to Cousins Beach that summer, looking different, looking pretty, seemingly everything changes for her as Conrad starts to pay attention to her, as well as his brother, Jeremiah. Yes, a love triangle between two brothers. So I highly recommend, if you haven't watched the first season, to go ahead and watch that, start watching season 2, and then come back so we can talk about everything that's been happening. But enough talking about season 1, let's get into season 2 as it just dropped this past week. My summer has now gotten 10 times better. But season 2, in comparison to season 1, which was this very, I want to say, lighthearted, fluffy, fun, and energetic season. Season 2 is drastically different so far. Throughout season 1, we of course knew Susanna had gotten sick with cancer again. And while the Fisher boys did successfully convince their mom to go back on chemo, in the beginning of season 2, it is revealed that Susanna did in fact tragically die from her cancer. With the addition of Susanna's death, we also have the very messy and tangled love triangle that we saw brewing towards the end of season 1 between the Fisher boys and Belly. We know in the end of season 1, Belly was kind of officially dating Jeremiah Fisher, Conrad's younger brother, but then at the very end, the last episode of season 1, Belly has this moment with Conrad on the beach where they end up kissing. This is kind of where we start season 2 off, where Conrad and Belly have just finished their conversation on the beach, and basically they end up taking a long walk and having a long conversation over how they want to be with each other. This then leads to Belly telling Jeremiah that she ended up kissing Conrad and ultimately wants to be with him. So season 2 compared to season 1 has quite a bit of a tonal difference. It's very different in terms of the overall vibe, with Susanna dying and Belly kind of breaking Jeremiah's heart, and ultimately her and Conrad, despite their love confession on the beach, not working out. She's not in contact with the Fisher boys. Susanna has died. Her mother is grieving her loss and in turmoil and isn't really showing up as a mother should be right now. She's falling behind in classes and in volleyball, and truly she's just not the same as she was last summer. I can fully appreciate season 2 for its changes, it having a darker vibe, focusing on really hard-hitting emotional topics like first loves and hard breakups, grief and loss and friendships. They're also trying to make sure the beach house in Cousins doesn't get sold. You know, all these memories they have there, especially with their mom. So I love that we get to see some added layers to our characters this season. They're not so much fun, happy-go-lucky people as they were in season 1. They've experienced a lot, they've been through a lot, and as a result, they've kind of been forced to grow up and mature as they've had to take on these really, really challenging life changes. Now, the next thing I'm about to say may not be a very much popular opinion. It is my opinion, of course, but I'm not so much of a fan of the storytelling we're seeing so far of flashbacks. I truly have not been one of those people who's enjoyed a series where most of it is like taking us back, where we get like frequent flashbacks in the middle of the scenes. To me, it just kind of makes the present day scenes feel kind of choppy and non-cohesive because we're spending so much time learning what happened in the past. Since we last saw the characters like towards the end of July or early August before they were going back to school, versus now pretty much a whole summer later, we kind of have to recount the events of what happened over the fall semester, basically, where Belly and Conrad had their falling out, Susanna died, Susanna had her funeral, and some things happened apparently between Belly and Conrad. We have to take an adventure back through all of those events in our timeline to come back to where we are so that we can kind of make sense of everything that's happened between last summer and this summer. And while I fully realize that going back in time to explain what happened with Belly and Conrad, how Susanna died, and what happened at the funeral was all necessary, I do hope as more and more gets revealed that we can sort of more so focus on what's happening in present day with Belly and all of the Fisher boys and Steven. I just want to cut back a little bit on the flashbacks, making sure it's not happening every other scene, every time Belly remembers a detail from the past. For me, it's just a little bit of a turnoff in my viewing experience. One thing I really have enjoyed so far this season is Jeremiah forgiving Belly, even though she really did not deserve it. Miss Girly did him so wrong. She went behind his back and kissed his brother of all people and then went on to be with his brother. First of all, I just want to say I love Jeremiah. He's my favorite of the Fisher boys, easily my favorite, and I am Team Jeremiah, but not in the sense that I want him to end up with Belly, because I think me not being a book reader girly over here, I think that ultimately Belly and Conrad end up together. It makes the most sense. They've had this deep emotional connection since childhood. They are infinite. What I mean by Team Jeremiah is that I'm more so just rooting for Jeremiah's happiness, his end game. What's Jeremiah's end game? But despite Belly doing Jeremiah wrong, I really enjoyed them reconnecting in season 2 and traveling back down to the beach house. I do want them to explore a little bit more of their relationship because they didn't have much time to do that, and I think Belly didn't realize how much Jeremiah liked her and was beginning to like her. So I more so just want her to see kind of his heart and his deeper feelings for her that she didn't realize. And what I can tell from the trailers and the teasers of this season, there are some sparks flying between Jeremiah and Belly again, and Conrad. It's a messy love triangle again. I do hope at the end of this though that ultimately Belly and Conrad get back together, because they are endgame. They are endgame. Speaking of endgame, Jenny Han. Jenny Han, why did you break up Steven and Shayla? Steven and Shayla in season 1 were kind of like the best couple to exist, in my opinion, in season 1. Like, their relationship was just so cute. Shayla was cute for Steven. Steven was cute for Shayla. Steven and Shayla, like, they were just like the it couple that season, I feel like. And we spent so much time getting to know them, getting to love them, only for in season 2, not even in season 2, for them to break up off camera, basically. They don't break up on the show. They just kind of announced that, oh yeah, Steven and Shayla broke up over the summer, and here we are. I don't necessarily like when shows do that, where they make kind of off-screen changes to the storyline. And I know apparently from the books, Shayla was only in the first book, so her time spent on the show was only going to be limited to 1 season from the beginning. I just feel like, why, Jenny? Why? I just feel like so much build up, so much lead up to Steven and Shayla getting together and falling in love versus just end quickly off screen and not be touched on in the most adequate way. It feels like a waste, and I didn't like that. But speaking of Steven and Shayla breaking up, we do know that Steven isn't quite going to be alone this season, which leads me to the next thing I've enjoyed about watching season 2 so far is the increased presence of Taylor. Taylor in The Summer I Turned Pretty is Belly's best friend, and I've heard from the book girlies, the book readers, that Taylor in the book was even more problematic and an attention seeker than she was represented in the show. And even in the show, we saw that she was a little bit of an attention seeker, an attention hog. She was always tangled up in Belly's love, romance, drama. She was just a very drama-filled person. But honestly, despite all of that, I really enjoyed Taylor's character, her presence in the show. She's such a breath of fresh air, especially for Belly. She really brings Belly out of her element. She's definitely that encouraging best friend who wants her kind of shyer best friend to try new things and take on new adventures. Even more so in season 2, Taylor has become a better person, and she has specifically become a better friend to Belly. It's nice to see Taylor show up for her in season 2, being this comforting friend. So with Taylor's increased presence in the show, which I love, she's gotten a lot of more scenes with Steven. And I think it's clear as well from the trailers and the teasers of season 2 that there's maybe something brewing between Taylor and Steven, as in they may develop feelings for each other and get together. They did have a very steamy but not very long-lasting hookup in season 1, though Steven at the time was pursuing Shayla and falling in love with Shayla. So we didn't get to see Taylor and Steven kind of explore that connection or explore a connection. So I am excited actually to see kind of where Taylor and Steven go. I think they make an interesting pair. They have this very kind of cute relationship. They pick on each other and tease each other. It's almost kind of like an enemies to lovers trope where they're going with this. So I'm excited to see more of Taylor this season. I'm excited to see where Taylor and Steven go, how they will build their relationship, etc, etc. But yeah, season 2 is fully underway, guys. I'm so excited for what the season holds, where we see the characters grow and go this season. I do plan on to keep watching the series and talking about it as each episode drops now weekly. So if you'd be interested in that, please do make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It'll let me know. And also real quick, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. But let me know, have you been enjoying season 2 so far? Have you read the books, the Summer I Turned Pretty books? Have they done a good job accurately depicting everything that happened in the book to the series? Whose team are you on? Are you team Jeremiah? Are you team Conrad? Who is your favorite character in the series? Just let me know all down below. But with that being said, guys, I thank you so much for watching to the end. Thank you for watching this video. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!